Now that you've got the newest BIOS on a flash drive, plug that into the motherboard I/O, not on the case, and let's navigate to the right spot in the BIOS menu where we can flash it. On an MSI, that's right here. This is the M flash procedure. It's just going to say we want to reboot to enter flash mode. You're going to say yes. All right, so it's rebooted into flash mode. You'll see here that we have a file for the BIOS ready, and you'll see our current build date is 12/17/21. This new build date here is 10/4/22. I'm going to ask you, are you sure you want to do this? Say yes. And then the key thing here while it's upgrading the BIOS is absolutely do not turn it off. Don't mess with anything. Don't touch anything on the computer, because if you mess up this part, you can ruin your motherboard. All right, and that is totally expected. It is now going to reboot back into the BIOS, and then we'll verify if we have the newest BIOS date shown. All right, we're back into the BIOS. Didn't break our motherboard. It is asking us what kind of water cooler we have, or what type of CPU cooler we have. This one has a water cooler, so we're going to select that. So let's check here at the top. You can see BIOS build date now reflects the BIOS build that we put into it, 10/4/22. So that's good. All right, so there's a lot of things you can do in the BIOS, but let's just do a couple quick things that anybody can do without getting really, really into the weeds of overclocking or anything like that. First thing you're going to want to do, XMP profile 1. Now what this is going to allow you to do is let your RAM or your system memory run at its fully rated speed. You'll see here the default speed is 2666. This actual RAM is rated for CL16 3600 megahertz. So once we restart the computer, it will actually reflect this 3600 megahertz value rather than the current 266. All right, the next thing we're going to do is go into advanced mode. You'll see at the top it says F7 for advanced. We're going to go into settings, advanced settings, PCIe and PCI subsystem settings. Then we're going to make sure resizable bar support is enabled. And it is already enabled on here, so we're good to go there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into boot. Then we're going to check fast boot disabled. One thing that fast boot does, at least it did on older versions of Windows, was it wouldn't have your computer fully turn off and turn back on, and you would do a reboot unless you're doing something like a reboot required by an update. So this will make sure that every time you turn off your computer or restart your computer, it is doing a full system shutdown and turn back on. All right, so we've switched back to the basic mode of the BIOS, and we're now going to do our fan curve. So click on fan info, and then you're going to click on this little cogwheel here. Okay, so this is going to take you into your settings for your fans, and pretty much what we're going to do here is we're just going to kind of crank some stuff up, make sure everything's running on PWM, and that it's looking at the CPU temperature. So one thing I like to do here is when it's at 30 degrees, we're going to put it at about 30%. And then when we're at 50 degrees, we're going to go up to about 60% on the fans. Then when we're at 70 degrees, we're going to go up to almost 90%. Then we're going to go at 100% when we hit 79 degrees. The pump, we are going to put into smart fan mode, and it is going to be full speed all the time. Our pump is always going to be running at full speed. Notice on this system, these system fans are not showing up at all. Those are run with a USB 2.0 controller, so they're not actually going to show up in here at all. We're expecting that, but your system might be different, so you'll want to set those similar to how I've set up the CPU fans. That is all we're going to do in the BIOS. Just click the big X on top where you can hit F10. It's going to show you all the different things that you did here, all the things that you changed. And you're just going to hit yes, and your system's going to restart. And we're back. All right, let's log in again. We're going to do one more check just to make sure there's nothing hiding in our Windows updates here. There's a cumulative update. A few hours later. Windows is activated. Okay, we can close that now. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to download the app for our motherboard and get our motherboard stuff all updated. So for MSI, this is the MSI board in here. We're going to download MSI Center. This is also going to be where we download all the stuff for controlling a bunch of the RGB on the computer as well. Okay, we have launched MSI. Let's scroll down to agree to the terms and conditions and ask you if you want to allow this to change your device, and you'll say yes. It will take a minute to fully install again once you try to open it, and we'll be good to go soon. We are now able to start MSI Center. So first thing we're going to do here, we are going to install Mystic Light. This is going to be what we use to control all of the RGB. All right, so we got Mystic Light installed. All right, just looking at some the monitoring stuff here. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to download and update a bunch of the drivers for this motherboard. So we are going to go to the support page on MSI's website. So this is a MSI Mag Z690 Tomahawk Wi-Fi DDR4. Go to the support page, and then under drivers and download, we've updated the BIOS already, so we'll go to the driver. Windows 11, so we'll start with the chipset driver. So let's download that and extract it, set up chipset. Just making sure that everything on our computer from the get-go is fully up to date. I'm going to restart later because we've got other stuff that we're going to download and do. Onboard VGA drivers, download that. Some of these might already be up to date from doing our standard Windows updates, but it never hurts to make sure everything is fully up to date. So it looks like it wants us to reboot probably from that chipset driver update. So we'll reboot real quick. Okay, and we are back in. Now this might automatically open up the install we had going, but we'll wait and see for a second. All right, there we go. So it's reopening the installer. It's going to go back through this process. Now that we have done our restart for our chipset driver, we should be good to go here. Installation is complete. Let's finish that. I don't have to navigate back to this. So we've got the VGA drivers, we've got chipset drivers. Let's download our Wi-Fi driver. So some of this feels like it's really tedious, but it's really important to make sure that everything you have is fully up to date, especially when you first start your PC. So it's a little bit confusing, but you make your way to Intel Wi-Fi driver UWD Windows 64 installer. You will find your way to the setup. It's a pretty quick install for the Wi-Fi. Get the Bluetooth driver as well. Put this up. Get that installer going. Accept the agreement that we definitely did read. And we are going to go typical on the install. And that one's done as well. Okay, so we're going to skip the Intel network drivers. We're going to go to the onboard audio driver. So we'll download this Realtek audio. Scroll down to setup and hit yes. Get that all done. And surprise, surprise, restarting our computer one more time. Once again, logging back into our computer here. We've got all of those drivers updated. It's time for our famous graphics driver. So this has an MSI 3070 in it. So we are going to go to NVIDIA drivers download. So we're going to go to NVIDIA's website. I prefer this part of their website. You can go to like kind of their main website, and it basically just tells you to download GeForce Experience every time. But I like to start out with this, where you could download the driver with or without GeForce Experience. So I like to go here. This is the download driver. So you do have to know what driver you want, but it's kind of better than the main NVIDIA website that basically just tries to get you to download GeForce Experience and update your driver from there. This way, if you don't want to use GeForce Experience and have that, taxing your system at all, you don't have to. So we've got an RTX 30 series. This is a GeForce RTX 3070. We're running Windows 11. We want the game ready driver because this is going to be a gaming system. And we'll hit search. So it's going to say, hey, we found this driver here. So we're going to click on download, and then we're going to have to click on download one more time. Once that's downloaded, we are going to open it up. So what I'm doing here is just downloading the most up-to-date NVIDIA driver. That might not necessarily be the best one. You'll want to do some research depending on maybe what games you're playing. Sometimes a slightly older driver runs the game a little bit more stably. It's one of those fun things about PC gaming. So, make sure you do a little bit of research, run around on Twitter, Reddit, wherever, and, make sure you get the best one. And there we go. We are officially installing our GPU driver. NVIDIA installer has finished. It's going to ask us if we want to create a desktop shortcut, which is fine for GeForce Experience. And then I don't really want to launch GeForce Experience right now, so I uncheck that. And as far as getting things ready for your computer, that's it. We're totally done here. The only things that I would do further is you can do some benchmark testing to make sure that your CPU and your GPU especially are running as they should be. That's something I can show you guys in another video. So I hope this helps, and I hope to see you guys next time. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow on all the different platforms so you can always see when I'm putting out new content. Thanks. Bye.